Namaskar. So, I'm sure many of you are stuck at home during the lockdown, and so am I. And you're probably having to work from home, but and like I am. And I'm not sure what you're doing for leisure, but for me, you can see this is what I'm doing for my to keep myself entertained. Board games. And I want to talk a little more about board games then, how important a part board games can play in times like this, and in life in general. So, to begin with, Giovanni Boccaccio's book, The Decameron, where many people are shut in this house during the plague that is ravaging Italy at the time. And a friend of Boccaccio says that during the plague you need clean shirts and you need board games. Board games because you don't have to exert yourself while playing, and you are not exposing yourself to the breath of other people, so not exposing yourself to contagion. I don't know if my reasons are the same, but I think there is kind of an important part that we there's an important element in games that we see all the more in such periods. So, just to begin with, I'll talk about the Dutch historian Johan Huizinga, who wrote a book called Homo Ludens, which means playing man. Homo Ludens basically is about it makes the case that that play is an important aspect of human culture. Every is important in every aspect of human culture. And Huizinga also says another thing. He says that play happens within a magic circle. So this magic circle is this kind of imaginary space where things that are not kind of accepted in real life are all okay. So there is like a willing suspension of disbelief in the sphere of play. Now, this magic circle has been interpreted in many ways, but I choose to see this magic circle in a particular light. I choose to see it as a porous magic circle, not something that is watertight, because when you play, a lot of the things that you do in play also have an impact in real life. So it's not just absolutely kind of cut off from real life, but very much influencing what you do in real life, and very much influenced by what happens to you in real life. Just as we are caught in this circle at the moment, we can't move out of our homes. So then, how does play kind of impact our real lives? So, just to kind of show you a couple of board games. I mean, this you already know. This is actually this is chess. You see Russian dolls. Yeah, these are the chess pieces. Of course, now when you kind of look at this chess game and you look at these Russian dolls and you play against an opponent, and you play with these pieces, it might just symbolize many different things. It might symbolize a war between two parts of Russia. It might symbolize a family feud. It might symbolize just an interaction between a family where you have kind of like two women of the family, yeah, like these Russian dolls. Or it might just kind of symbolize any other thing that you might kind of think of in terms of a story. Or, for example, is this rather peculiar Viking chess, Neftafel, as it is called. So you have this kind of the structure where the white kind of army is in the middle, and the others are trying to attack it from all four sides, kind of like our chaturanga, which has which is also a four-sided chess. So chess again kind of has many significances, and these chess pieces are also very important to kind of think of how and what happens and how things happen, really, and they're very kind of symbolic of real life real life characters, events. For example, look, this is a chess piece from Burma, and you have the Burmese elephant here as well there, instead of the bishop, and this is the king and the minister, the prime minister, not the queen, in a Nepalese chess set that I got recently. So you can see how ornate these are. And once you're playing with these pieces, of course, you get a different idea. Really, it's not just a game. Perhaps it becomes a story. It becomes something that talks about real life. So, I mean, the classic example is, for example, when Lewis Carroll writes his entire book Through the Looking Glass, claiming to base it on a chess game. If you look at Through the Looking Glass, then the first page, basically, the book begins with a chess game where Alice starts as a pawn and then she has to become a queen. But I want to talk a little more about our own, our very, very own ancient Indian board games. And one example I want to use is this. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah. So this is not a coaster. This is not a miniature painting, but it's a playing card. It's a Ganjifa card. So there are many different types of Ganjifa cards. You see another one. This is from Orissa. It's Ganjapa cards from Orissa. And the one that I showed you earlier was from Vishnupur, our very own Vishnupur, in West Bengal. So now, these cards are very different from the playing cards that we are used to play with. So this is, for example, again, this is a 52 cards 52 card deck with 4 suits. And you have all these different cards here. Now these are a European kind of import in India. And if you look at the names in Bengali, the Bengali names of the 4 suits, they are Horoton, Ruiton, Chiriton, and Ishkapon. Now, I don't know if you know this, but in Dutch, Horoton is Harten, and Ruiton is Ruiten, Ishkapon is Schapen. So you probably see that these are imports. These names themselves are already kind of important to the Bengali language from Dutch. Very few Dutch words in the Bengali language, but these certainly are Dutch words. So again, of course, the Ganjifa cards, of course, have a distinctly Indian kind of feel about them. See, they're round cards, and of course nowadays, of course, not many people know how to play them. Really, there are over 100 cards in the deck, 100, 120 or more. Now, Ganjifa, of course, is not really this is debatable, but it's possibly kind of originated in Iran, and the name Ganjifa probably comes from the word Ganj, which means treasure. But there are, of course, other theories which see the cards kind of originating in Iran. Some say in China, but we find references to the Ganjifa cards in Babur's writing, and also in Akbar's time. There is an Akbari Ganjifa set. So they are being played during the Mughal times and perhaps earlier. And in its Indian form, the Ganjifa card becomes it's called the Dash Avatar card. See the card that I just showed you. This is the Avatar Kolki, very, very symbolic and of our times, really. Again, you have Kolki here in the cards from Orissa, mounted on his white horse. So you have Parashuram, you have Kurma, Matsya, all of these different different avatars of Vishnu. For example, this is Narasimha. So in the Ganjifa cards, you would have earlier you would have the Iranian cards. You would have many different suits, and some of the more notable ones are Surk, which is gold, Chandi, which is silver, Gulam, which is like a mix of many different kind of interesting pictures, and you would also have the lead cards. The lead cards would be the Wazir and the Mir or Amir, Lord, King. In the Ganjifa tradition, in the Dashavatar cards, also there is the Raja and the Mantri, and you usually have the avatar of Vishnu painted on these. And the other cards, of course, there are symbols. The other cards have symbols instead of the painting, like that one. So this is the lead card, and these are the other cards. And again, I mean, it's interesting how these cards are played, because when during the play process of these cards, people would say that you have my kurmo and I give you my matsho. So there is this kind of connection with mythology, Indian mythology, with religion, all of these happening while you're playing these cards. And what I want to say here is that I see this playing of cards as kind of like a building of stories. So let me show you something else. The Italian novelist Italo Calvino has this fantastic book called The Castle of Cross Destinies. And in The Castle of Cross Destinies, he shows tarot cards. I know tarot cards are not really like played as in like a game, more about telling your future. But you have these tarot cards, and Calvino arranges them in different, on a table, and he says that these tarot cards, these pictures, once you place them one after the other, they tell stories. So if you read the cards from one side, it tells you the story of King Lear. If you read it from top to bottom, it tells you the story of Dr. Faustus or Oedipus. So again, then it's like a kind of whole sea of stories spread out on a table with cards. So, again, then to come back to my point about how games kind of relate to real life, also to storytelling, how games can tell stories, and how games reflect what happens in life. I've already talked about chess, about different forms of chess, but I also want to say that this is something that goes way back. So if you ever, after the lockdown is over, if you manage to go to the Indian Museum and look at the Indus Valley Civilization toys, see how far back this goes. And of course, let me just show you two board games. This is Senet from ancient Egypt. I don't know if you can see it clearly. Let me just take the pieces down and show you the board. This is Senet from ancient Egypt. And the pharaohs used to play Senet not just as a game, but they would play it to decide their day-to-day activity. So imagine our leaders kind of playing a game of Senet to decide what they would do during the course of the day. So that's what it was used for as well. And of course, again, as another similar game, another really old game. This is the royal game of Ur from the Mesopotamian civilization, and it's probably the world's oldest board game. The rules have been found recently. Again, it might have been played for very similar reasons which did not just connect to your just the playing of a game, but to decide the fate of people, to decide to foretell the future. So again, then I want to come back to my initial point is that today, as we are stuck inside, stuck indoors, and we are kind of within this circle, one would kind of always want to think about why would people want to play so many games? Because you might have heard that people all over the world, they're playing Animal Crossing, this new video game on Nintendo Switch. But so this idea of playing is something that connects us with reality, with the world outside, the world that we are not allowed to access. And these games also tell stories. These tell stories in a time when we need these stories. We need to keep ourselves busy, entertained, and thinking about life. So, do kind of enjoy your board games with your friends and family while you are in this lockdown, and let us hope that we see the end of this lockdown and this pandemic very soon. And then do join me for a session of Neftafel or Senate or the royal game of Ur. I should be very glad to have you. And meanwhile, take care and stay safe. Thank you very much.